Caribbean Newsline is brought to you by the Barbados Tourism Marketing Inc.
Opposition leader Lennox Linton and former Prime Minister Edison James to appear in court early next year on a charge of incitement. Our top story in Caribbean Newsline for Friday, November 23. From the CMC News Center in Bridgetown, I'm Ricardo Roberts. Good evening. Thanks for joining us. The charges are in relation to public disturbances that occurred in the capital on February 7 last year. If convicted, they could be jailed for 15 years. Linton, James and another United Workers' Party member, Dr. Thompson Fontaine, will appear in court on January 22 next year to answer the charge of incitement. A bench warrant was also issued for Fontaine, an opposition senator who has failed to make an appearance at the magistrates' court for the last two sittings. But the charge of obstruction of justice against Linton, along with opposition legislator Joshua Francis and another senior member of the UWP, Nicholas George, and Joseph Isaac, the former opposition legislator who is now a government minister, has been adjourned sine die. Linton told reporters afterward, quote, "We will fight this. There was no profanity. There was no incitement to what I said to the people of Dominica on the 7th of February 2017. End quote.
An international artist came here and then proceeded to insult Dominicans with all sorts of profanities against the law of Dominica, and absolutely nothing happened. But you see what's going on? We are the ones who are finding it difficult to speak in our country, and that's a right we'll always stand for. That right to speak, that right to express ourselves, that right to be free spirits that can engage with governments, that can say to governments, we don't like this or we don't like that, because we employ you, we the people employ you. That is a right we'll always fight for. And nobody is going to take that right from the people of Dominica.
When the charge was first read out in court in September, the men were accused of willfully obstructing the police in the execution of their duties when they refused to allow a truck from proceeding west after a public meeting in the capital on February 7, 2017.
If that is a country that you want to live in, Curtis Matthew, if that is a country that you want to live in, Carlisle John Baptist, you're free, that's your choice. I don't want to live in a country like this. I don't want anybody else to live in a country like this. I don't want my children or anybody else's children to be under this sort of police state where every time you speak and you criticize the government, somebody wants to tell you foolishness about incitement. But they're taking an innocent, clean speech of 2017, February 7th, and they're trying to manufacture. They have high-powered senior counsel from overseas trying to manufacture incitement out of those pro-democracy statements on behalf of the people of Dominica, and that is why the people are here this afternoon. That is why we'll stand.
Teachers in Grenada are set to remain off the job for another 3 days in the coming week, following what they call an unsatisfactory meeting with the Government Pension Committee on Friday morning. The unions and the committee were meeting to work out a deal regarding the payment of gratuity to public workers. The unions are seeking a 25% gratuity based on the Pension Act of 1958, but government says any attempt to meet that demand will cripple the country. In a release issued on Friday afternoon, the Grenada Teachers Union is calling on teachers to remain off the job on Monday, Tuesday and Wednesday of next week. This would bring to 12 the number of days teachers have stayed away from the classrooms. The release also said the Technical and Allied Workers Union, which is the largest union in the country and represents essential services such as water, electricity and the country's ports, will join the protest action on Wednesday in key sectors. Wednesday will also see teachers stage another national march. Head of the Technical and Allied Workers Union, Andre Lewis, who also heads the Trade Union Council and the negotiation team, is expected to deliver a national address on Friday night. The Guyana Public Service Union says it is not happy about being left out of the decision-making on salary increases. In this report from HGP Nightly News, the increases are retroactive January 1st, 2018.
The Guyana Public Service Union is peeved over its non-participation in the decision-making process through which the government arrived at a pay increase for public servants for the year 2018. The increases are to be based on salaries at December 31, 2017 and are effective as of January 1, 2018. It means that if the money is paid out during the month of December, public servants will get a 12-month back pay. Second Vice President of the GPSU, Don Gardner, said there has not been any meeting with the government thus far for the year. Therefore, the GPSU sees the offer as an unacceptable imposition by the finance minister.
And if you can remember, from the time this government got into office, the promise was made to restore collective bargaining, and there was no negotiations done with it. In the 2015 budget, it was also mentioned by the Minister of Finance that the government will restore collective bargaining, and that has not been done.
The Ministry of Finance approved 7% salary increases for persons working up to $100,000 per month, 6.5% for those working between $100,000 and $299,000 per month, and 5% for those working for between $300,000 per month and $499,000 per month. Persons working from $500,000 per month and above $1 million will be given increases ranging from 3% to 0.5%.
There we go. It's an imposition, and we reject the imposition. Well, we're presently engaging the members, and we'll have a mandate from the members.
The increases are not applicable to public school teachers, employees of the University of Guyana, government ministers, and members of Parliament.
Police in Belize are investigating an incident in which one of their colleagues used his police-issued 9mm pistol to kill his common-law wife and then commit suicide. The bodies of Police Constable Stephen Anthony Ferguson and Josephine Hamilton were found at their residence in Punta Gorda town, the capital and the largest town of Toledo district in southern Belize. Assistant Commissioner of Police Joseph Maivet says Police Officer Ferguson was seen on the floor motionless with an apparent gunshot wound to the right temple. A police-issued 9mm pistol was seen about a foot away from his head. Nearby to his body, his common-law wife, Josephine Hamilton, of the same address, was seen in a sitting position, motionless as well. Upon examination of the scene, she was seen with several gunshot wounds, 2 to the top of the head and 1 towards the left eye. The police say the incident occurred on Wednesday night, and residents in the area reported that the couple had been engaged in a confrontation and that the killings took place in the presence of their children. Regional countries are being urged to actively support the activities of the Caribbean Climate Services as they seek to mitigate the impact of disasters. It's coming from Adrian Trotman, the Chief of Applied Meteorology at the Barbados-based Caribbean Institute for Meteorology and Hydrology, the CIMH. He told CMC News that there's need for commitment from the highest level of regional countries given the change in weather patterns throughout the Caribbean.
See from 2017 at the weather scale, I mean, people are more familiar with the weather scale, that early warning information is critical. I mean, we are on El Nino watch right now, and typically in the Caribbean, an El Nino might suggest drying of the conditions. So there's a potential for drought. You might not know where or how severe, but that's what our forecast is going to give you a heads up about. So we also have, this brings the potential for drought brings concerns about water availability. And I think providing that early warning to the region that it may be critical to conserve water even more so than the typical dry season over the next season is important information to be had, because we don't want anybody to be without access to water. It's a basic need of life.
Trotman is among regional and international delegates attending the 2018 Dry Season Caribbean Climate Outlook Forum, CARICOF, that ended in Barbados on Friday. The two-day forum featured sessions that advanced a roadmap and action plan for Caribbean climate services, and the organizers said that the intention is to strengthen regional resilience to mitigate the risks posed by natural hazards. Trotman said the climate services program was endorsed by the Caribbean Community Council for Trade and Economic Development, COTED, and the Ministers for Environmental Development since 2015.
They've instructed us to do certain things on their country's behalf, and we've proceeded to do that. That's why we're at this point. So I hope that that endorsement goes, beyond the level of the COTED, and actually we can see that support. And we have our Met services and our disaster management agencies. Some of them are here, and they're seriously discussing making climate services a more integral part of supporting disaster risk reduction in their countries. But we need two things. We need continued financial support to sustain it, and we need political buy-in at the highest level of your country.
Still to come in Caribbean, Newsline plans to ban the importation of scratch bombs in Trinidad and Tobago. We have that story after the break.
Their history have won the Women's ICC World T20 title.
Next time on Coalition Corner, giving young people a voice in advocacy.
Not speaking on their behalf, not letting them be in the background or using them for photo opportunities. It's young people who know their rights and are able to speak up for themselves.
If you are not giving them the information and they're still going and being promiscuous and having sex, what sense it make?
Adolescents and youth do have sexual and reproductive health rights.
Don't miss the next Coalition Corner.
The Trinidad and Tobago government says it will ban the importation of scratch bombs into the country after describing the firework as a real nuisance item. National Security and Communication Minister Stuart Young, speaking at the end of the weekly cabinet meeting on Thursday, told reporters that when the scratch bombs are outlawed, anyone found with them will be treated in a similar fashion to those found with an illegal firearm. Young said that several people have suffered serious injuries as a result of these bombs.
There have been a number of incidents, both with young children as well as full adults, where they have sustained injuries and sometimes serious injuries as a result of the use of these scratch bomb items. In fact, either last year or the year before, we had an incident where irresponsible persons threw a scratch bomb into a car, and the lady, in an attempt, as I recall the facts, to save her grandchild, picked up the scratch bomb to throw it out of the car, and it exploded in her hand and she lost some fingers. We have had recent incidents with children playing with scratch bombs and they've sustained injuries, and even some adults. So I'm happy to announce today that the Cabinet of Trinidad and Tobago has taken a decision to ban the importation and sale of scratch bombs, and the Ministry of National Security will move expeditiously to have this implemented as the law.
Recently, 9 people were left homeless when a house in central Trinidad was destroyed by a fire which started with scratch bombs. The final consultation on the Cannabis Bill 2018 took place in Antigua and Barbuda on Friday in another step towards legalizing the regulated production and supply of the marijuana for religious and medical purposes. The consultation was held with interest groups such as Rastafarians, medical professionals, and other identified as approved healthcare professionals. Spearheaded by a 5-member parliamentary select committee, the discussion centered on the proposed journey towards legalization and management of the marijuana industry. The move is in keeping with the government's promise to develop medical and other marijuana-related industries, both for local and international consumption. The 54-page bill is divided into 5 parts: cannabis for sacramental and religious purposes, cannabis for medicinal purposes with access to medicinal purposes, licensing the supply of medicinal cannabis, offences, general prohibitions, and prohibitions relating to authorized healthcare professional, and appeals. The law will establish the Antigua and Barbuda Medicinal Cannabis Authority, whose functions will be to authorize medicinal and alternative health practitioners to recommend medicinal cannabis and to establish scientific research protocols for medicinal cannabis. And CARICOM Secretary General Erwin LaRocque has called for a distinct CARICOM voice among the 36 seats on the International Civil Aviation Organization's Council. Addressing the International Civil Aviation Organization ICAO Air Transport Conference that ended in Guyana on Friday, LaRocque said CARICOM member states with ICAO membership represent a distinct geographical grouping and request a seat on that basis. He told the conference that there was need for the voice of small states to be heard in the ICAO's council, where decisions are made in respect to international civil aviation. He said another concern for the region was the meeting's focus on practical solutions to remove regulatory impediments to air transport liberalization. He said this discussion was timely as the region seeks to give effect to the community of interest principle, which provides the Caribbean and other small states within the regional grouping with practical measures to operate air transport services, a device to enable the designation of airlines. The multifaceted principle recognizes the need for small states within regional groupings to act as a single entity and, on that basis, as long as the ownership and control requirement is met by a single member of the group, the airline of that state so designated is allowed to treat the entire community as its home base. The meeting was the culmination of consultations which commenced in 2014, linking ICAO, that's ICAO, CARICOM, and Africa. It was underpinned by the theme promoting connectivity for sustainable air transport development, establishing connections among air transport, measures to liberalize the industry, quality aviation infrastructure, and sustainable development. And ahead in Newsline Sport, defending champions West Indies were sensationally dumped from the ICC Women's T20 World Cup. Stay with us. Sport is next.
Exceptional fun, meet amazing people, enjoy fantastic food, and rock the nights away to world-class music at the 23rd Annual St. Kitts Music Festival. 3 nights of musical entertainment from the 27th to the 29th of June 2019. Book now and save the date. For more information, log on to stkitsmusicfestival.net. St. Kitts Music Festival, an experience like no other.
What better way to experience true Dominican culture? Join us for Taste of Dominica 2018 from October 19th to November 30th. Experience diversity in Dominica's cuisine, from street food to inspired chef creations to herbal teas and of course, Dominica's famous bush rums. Taste of Dominica is a culinary delight for all foodies. Collect your passports today and get a chance to win amazing prizes. Visit discoverdominica.com for details.
Barbados, a gift to you. The stars are coming. Hennessy and FAS 7-Star present Hennessy Artistry. Saturday, December 1st, Kensington Oval. Doors open at 7, showtime 9 p.m. Trey songs. 2 Mile Hill. Luciano. Romaine Virgo. Popcorn. And Shabba Ranks. Hennessy Artistry. Saturday, December 1st. Kensington Oval. The 10th anniversary. Hennessy. Never stop. Never settle. Drink responsibly.
Defending champions West Indies was sensationally dumped from the ICC Women's T20 World Cup after suffering a heavy 71-run defeat to Australia in the first semi-final on Thursday. Now asked to chase 143 on a slow track at the Vivian Richards Cricket Stadium, West Indies' batting woes returned to haunt them and they collapsed disappointingly for 71 in the 18th over, their joint second lowest score in the shortest format.
That gets through. Nicely played. Oh, yes! That is brilliant. Alyssa Healy, you cannot keep her out the game. No signs of the concussion there. She is switched on. Yeah, brilliant from Alyssa Healy. Oh, you beauty. What a delivery that is.
Catch it.
Swept hard. Oh, now, yes, that's gone.
Easily done, easily taken.
Oh.
Nice shot by Stefani Taylor, greets the first delivery. Could be a wicket, could be a wicket. Here's a wicket, left arm spin, doing the trick.
Gardner. This could be a chance as well. Here's another chance. Lisa Healy. Gone. So Megan Schutt picks up her first wicket of the match.
They just keep on falling. Yeah! And there it is. And probably fitting that it ends up in the hands of Alyssa Healy. She comes back after concussion. She comes into the side. She opened up the batting exceptionally well.
Meanwhile, England will face Australia in the final of the ICC Women's T20 World Cup for the third time after they thrashed India by 8 wickets at the Sir Vivian Richards Stadium on Thursday night. England spinners, led by Heather Knight, sparked an astonishing middle-order collapse to dismiss India for 112 and 19.3 overs after they had been cruising at 89 for 2 in 14 overs. Amy Jones and Natalie Sciver then both scored unbeaten half-centuries at the better than a runner ball to lift England to 116 for 2 in just 17.1 overs.
Goes across the crease, it's in the air and it's gone. That's the wicket that India wanted. They needed an early breakthrough and they've got it in Beaumont.
A strong offside field, so she sees an angled ball on middle and leg, fancies the chances going leg side because there were just 3 fielders.
Straight back over the umpire's head. There's space there and she's found the first boundary. Aerial. That's the good footwork that has created that ability to hit down the ground. Nope, she comes forward straight away and she gets a big bit of it, settling underneath it though. Yes, there it is.
Dropped. Lovely timing and placement. The powerful striker is in the ground and she's muscled it down to the long on region.
And that's gone as well.
Brilliant batting. No one a deep square leg.
Can it get over mid-off? It does.
There's no harm in it as long as either of them decide to play shots the way both Siva and Jones have played as well. Nicely, Siva brings up her half-century.
Hit away, over mid-on, goes away for 4. Amy Jones has a half-century, Nat Siva has a half-century, and England have another World Cup final.
And just before we leave you, left-arm spinner Jomel Warrican and off-spinner Ruston Chase took 2 wickets apiece to lead a West Indies fight back against Bangladesh at the end of day 2 of the first test at the Zahor Ahmed Chowdhury Stadium on Friday, resuming from their overnight total of 315 for 8 in their first innings. Bangladesh added just 9 more runs before Warrican claimed the final 2 wickets. Now, in reply, West Indies found themselves on the losing end, trouble early on, losing 3 wickets in the space of 2 runs. That's the sport. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Caribbean Newsline is brought to you by the Barbados Tourism Marketing, Inc.
Women's ICC World T20 title.
We're going to turn it up a notch. Hennessy and FAS 7-Star present Hennessy Artistry on the Beach, Sunday, December 2nd. Daiquiri Beach. Performing live, Spice, Sham, Rankin King, Mole, Stiffy, Justy, and Little Rick. Plus World DJ, Guido Suave, King Ghetto, Scott and Mally Fresh, Achen Sid, DJ Raz, Ramon T, Kamal Banki, DJ Puffy, and Jaguar DJ. Hennessy Artistry on the Beach, Sunday, December 2nd, Daiquiri Beach, 4 p.m. to 11 p.m. Hennessy, never stop, never settle. Drink responsibly.
Again, the major developments of this day: Dominica's opposition leader Lennox Linton and former Prime Minister Edison James to appear in court on January 22nd on a charge of incitement in relation to public disturbances that occurred in the capital on February 7 last year. That's Caribbean Newsline. For news and sports round the clock, log on to CarterNews.com. We'll be back here again on Monday. But from all of us at CMC News, thank you for watching. Have yourselves a good night.